3,000 years ago, a globalized world stood tall. Powerful empires ruled, cities flourished. Trade routes crisscrossed continents, and then, as if swallowed by the earth itself, it all collapsed. Welcome to History Alive, the channel where the past isn't just remembered, it's resurrected. Here we dive deep into real stories that shook entire civilizations. In today's episode, we explore one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. What caused the sudden fall of nearly every major Bronze Age civilization? Life in the late Bronze Age. By circa 1300 BC, the Eastern Mediterranean was booming. Imagine a connected world where the Mycenaeans built fortified palaces in Greece. The Hittite Empire dominated what is now Turkey. The Egyptians, under Pharaoh Ramses II, expanded deep into Africa and Asia. The Minoans and Cypriots ruled the seas with vast merchant fleets. And cities like Ugarit, Byblos, and Troy were bustling with trade. They shared art, technology, religion. A chariot used in Syria looked nearly identical to one in Egypt. Luxury goods like lapis lazuli from Afghanistan traveled thousands of miles. And everywhere, bronze was king, the metal that powered their tools, weapons, and status. It was a golden age, and it would soon fall into silence. The collapse begins. Between 1200 and 1150 BC, something extraordinary happened. Almost every major city in the region was violently destroyed. Mycenae, Tiryns, and Pylos in Greece burned. Hattusa, capital of the Hittites, vanished. Ugarit, wiped out in a single night, its last letters never delivered. Even Egypt, though it survived, was never the same again. Entire scripts disappeared. In Greece, writing wouldn't return for 400 years. Populations fell by over 70% in some areas. Trade collapsed. Literacy evaporated. A dark age began. This was not the slow decline of an empire. It was a simultaneous regional breakdown of civilization. What went wrong? No single cause explains it all. But historians agree on one thing. It was a perfect storm. A mix of disasters, each feeding the other. 1. The Sea Peoples. Inscriptions at Medinet Habu in Egypt describe waves of foreign invaders called the Sea Peoples. They came in massive fleets, armed for war, destroying coastal cities. Pharaoh Ramesses III recorded a desperate battle in 1177 BC. He won, but barely. Who were they? No one knows for sure. Some believe they were displaced groups from the Aegean, possibly from Crete, Sardinia, or Anatolia, driven by famine or war. Others suggest they were rebellious mercenaries turned pirate armies, taking advantage of collapsing states. Historian Eric Klein argues they were likely a coalition of desperate migrants, acting as both victims and catalysts of the collapse. The Sea Peoples didn't destroy civilization alone. They simply kicked it while it was already falling. 2. Natural disasters. Seismic records suggest a massive chain of earthquakes rocked the eastern Mediterranean. Sites like Troy, Mycenae, and Knossos show signs of earthquake damage followed by fire. There's also evidence of volcanic eruptions and wildfires spreading across dry lands. When disasters struck cities already under stress, recovery was nearly impossible. 3. Climate change and famine. Pollen samples and sediment data point to a megadrought lasting decades. Droughts shrank harvests. Rivers dried up. Famine followed. Letters from Ugarit and Emar describe food shortages, grain riots, and entire regions starving. In Egypt, the price of grain rose tenfold. This climate collapse may have triggered mass migrations, pushing displaced peoples toward fertile, stable kingdoms like Egypt. 4. Economic fragility. The Bronze Age economy was interdependent. Tin from Afghanistan, copper from Cyprus, all shipped across vast distances, disrupt a single trade route, and entire industries collapsed. Once bronze tools became scarce, agriculture and warfare both weakened. No bronze meant no plows, no swords, no shields. It was like a modern economy losing access to electricity or oil. 5. Internal rebellions. Some cities weren't destroyed from the outside, but from within. Clay tablets describe workers refusing to be paid, soldiers abandoning posts, and slaves revolting. The social order cracked. Hierarchies fell apart. Rulers vanished. Collapse wasn't just imposed, it was chosen by people who had nothing left to lose. What followed was centuries of silence. Writing vanished from Greece for 400 years. Cities became villages. Palaces became ruins. Only Egypt limped on, deeply weakened. So, what do we still not understand? Who were the Sea Peoples? Most likely, multiple displaced groups, war-torn, starving, migrating, banding together. They weren't an empire, but a force of desperation. Their strength wasn't in planning, but in timing. Why did everything fall so fast? It didn't. It unraveled over decades. But interconnected systems fall like dominoes. One trade breakdown, one failed harvest, one lost army, and the rest follows. The illusion of strength hid systemic weakness. Could it happen again? That's the terrifying question. Today our world is more connected than ever, in food, energy, finance, communication. The Bronze Age collapse reminds us, when stress exceeds resilience, no empire is too big to fall. In less than a generation, the world changed forever. The Bronze Age collapse was not the end of history, but a brutal reminder of how fragile civilizations can be. If this story fascinated you, subscribe to History Alive. Here, every episode brings another turning point from the past to vivid life. Stay tuned. Another great story is coming soon. And until then, keep the past alive.